You don't need variety to feel alive. You need order. Not because life overwhelmed you, not because you gave up on spontaneity, because somewhere along the way, you figured out what actually works and you stopped apologizing for it. You wake up at the same time every day, not because you have to, because you chose to. You have a specific chair, a specific mug, a specific order to your morning. And if something disrupts that, even slightly, the whole day feels slightly off. You know that feeling. You eat at similar times, you take the same routes, you have a version of Friday that looks almost exactly like last Friday. And that doesn't bother you. That's the point. Other men your age talk about needing a change of scenery, needing something new, needing a trip or an event or something to break the monotony. You don't feel that pull the same way. You've been on the trips, you've done the spontaneous weekends, and what you remember most is being ready to come home. That's not a personality flaw. That's a signal. You don't broadcast your routine, you don't post it. You don't explain it to people who wouldn't understand it anyway. You just protect it. Quietly, consistently, the same way you protect anything that actually matters to you. Some men see routine as the thing you endure until real life starts. You see it as real life. That reframe took years. Most men never get there. People have told you that you're rigid. Not in those words, but close enough. You never want to try anything new. You're so predictable. Don't you ever just want to do something different? And you've learned to hear that without reacting. Because you've realized something they haven't yet. Predictability is not weakness. Predictability is proof that you know yourself. The men who are always chasing something new, a new city, a new plan, a new identity, they're not free. They're restless. There's a difference. Restlessness gets dressed up as adventure. But underneath it most of the time is the inability to be still. You can be still. That took work. Here's what's actually happening when a man builds a strong routine. It's not about control, it's about capacity. Every decision you make costs something. Attention, mental energy, willpower. These are real resources. They deplete. When your morning is the same, when your day has a familiar rhythm, you're not spending that energy deciding. You're preserving it. For the things that actually require your full attention, the problem at work, the conversation that matters, the decision only you can make. This is why the most effective men you've ever known often had the most structured lives. Not because structure made them robotic, because structure made them available. Available for what counts. When everything around you is settled, your schedule, your environment, your habits, your mind gets quiet in a specific way. Not empty, focused. That's the state where you do your best thinking, where you solve things, where you feel most like yourself. You've watched other men bounce between phases. New hobby, new gym, new morning ritual they found online. Gone in 6 weeks. You don't say anything, but you notice. You've been running the same 3-mile loop for 9 years. Not because you couldn't try something different, because that loop works. It's yours. You know every turn. Your body knows the pace. Your mind goes somewhere useful while you run it. That's not stagnation, that's mastery. There's a kind of man who needs novelty to feel engaged, and there's a kind of man who extracts depth from repetition. You're the second kind. You've known that for a long time. You just didn't always have words for it. Routine isn't what you do when nothing exciting is happening. Routine is the architecture of a life that runs on your terms. You built something over years, quietly, without anyone handing you a framework or a plan. You figured out when you think best, when to leave people alone and when to engage, when your body needs rest and when it needs to move, when a conversation is worth having and when it isn't. That knowledge didn't come from a book. It came from paying attention for decades. Most men in their 20s and 30s are still running on external cues. Do what gets praise, avoid what gets criticism. Follow the group. By the time a man reaches his 40s, he either has himself figured out or he's still searching. You did the work. Your routine is the visible result. It also tells people something, without you saying a word. Men who respect themselves have structure, not rigidity, structure. They show up when they say they will. They know what they want for dinner. They don't perform availability. They don't rearrange their lives to accommodate chaos. That's not cold, that's stable. Stable men are rare. More men your age are performing stability than actually living it. You know the difference when you're in a room. You don't explain your schedule to people who interrupt it. You don't apologize for leaving at the time you said you'd leave. You don't justify going to bed early. You don't dress up your need for order as something more socially acceptable. At some point, you stopped doing that. And it wasn't arrogance, it was accuracy. You stopped contorting yourself to fit other people's relationship with time. Because your time is structured around something: your performance, your health, your mental clarity. That's not selfishness. That's stewardship. There's something else worth saying. Your routine protects more than your schedule. It protects your identity. When you know exactly how your day starts, you know who you are before the world gets involved, before the demands arrive, before the noise starts, before anyone needs something from you. That window in the morning, that quiet, structured hour, that's yours. Fully yours. No negotiation, no compromise, no performance. Just you operating at your own pace, in your own space. Most men never claim that. They let the day define them instead of the other way around. You learned early that if you don't build your day intentionally, someone else will build it for you. And it won't look anything like what you need. So you built walls, not to keep people out, to keep yourself intact. That's a level of self-awareness most men spend their whole lives avoiding, because it requires honesty. Honest about what drains you, honest about what restores you, honest about the kind of environment where you actually function well. That honesty is rare, and it shows up every single morning in how you start your day. The men who understand you really understand you. They have their own version of this. They don't need you to explain why you're up at 5:30. They don't need you to justify the same lunch 3 days a week. They get it. Because they built something similar, quietly, without fanfare, without posting about it. There's a kind of man who lives loudly and produces little, and there's a kind of man who lives quietly and produces everything that matters to him. You know which one you are. You've always known. Your routine isn't a symptom of anything. It's evidence. Evidence that somewhere along the way, through trial and error and honest self-examination, you figured out what a good day looks like for you. And you had the discipline to keep building it, day after day, year after year. That's not ordinary. Most men never get there.